danced through the Obunike caves. A voice that told the stories of kings, traders, warriors, and dreamers. That voice still speaks. That voice is us. Udala. We are Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
When politics unfolds, when decisions are made, we reveal the impact. Welcome to the Polity, your deep dive into the forces shaping governance, policies, and power. From the halls of government.
You were there. I was not there. Check the record. Wait now. You were there. I was not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They're feeling school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ebuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
A total number of registered voters of 2,802,790, 2,802,790, accredited voters 598,229, and valid votes at 584,054, rejected votes at 11,244, and of course total votes cast at 595,298. That was how Saturday happened. And of course, you already know by the figures that we ended up having, say, 1/4 of the registered voters come out to vote. Less than half, a figure that some persons have reported to be quite low. But of course, all of that and more, we're going to be taking a look at on the Polity today on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Good morning to you and welcome to the program. I am Chisom Chinedu. Franklin Ebuka is here. Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning, Chisom. Good morning to people of Anambra State and beyond. Everyone listening to this very morning. We're glad to have you join us this very morning. And of course, it's just 2 days after the Anambra election that was held on November 8th. It's no longer news that the governor of Anambra State, the incumbent, has been re-elected for the next 4 years after pulling about 73% of all the votes cast. In fact, if you compare the figure that elected him now with the one that if you compare the figure of the persons who voted for him in this election with that of his first term, you see that that's a huge difference, because the first time was I think about 190,000 votes, and this time around we're counting 422,000 votes. So that tells us that a good number of persons maybe must have changed their mind, or a good number of persons let's say combined factors might have influenced that very decision,
that very number.
Yes, because we know that the last gubernatorial election before this very one, of course, there was insecurity permeating every part of Anambra State, but this time around security has improved, and also coupled with maybe his performance and other factors, and that might have influenced the figure we have. But all the same, the good thing is that the election happened and it was adjudged free and fair, and at the same time peaceful, because that was the hallmark of the whole thing, that we didn't hear much of crisis, voter intimidation, ballot box snatching, or killing, maiming, or any kind of it. So and from the verdict of so many observers, I think they are saying the same thing, but they kept hammering on the challenge of voter apathy and vote buying. So these are the two major issues that we have to find a way to deal with. Then on the other side too, something is beginning today in Brazil, Belém, Brazil. The COP30 Conference of Parties, the 30th edition is beginning today in Belém, Brazil, and the world leaders are going together there for them to brainstorm, talk about how the world is going to respond to the issue of climate change. During the Paris Agreement they had about 10 years ago, the target was for them to reduce climate change to 15 degrees Celsius. But all this while, it's been so difficult for them to achieve that. So by the time it begins today, let's see what is going to be the outcome of this very conference. And the interesting thing is that Belém happens to be a place that houses Amazon, forest. And they know that when you talk about managing climate change, you need forest for you to be able to manage climate change, because it helps us in trapping carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So let me rest my case at this point for now.
Of course, we're not alone in the studio. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki is here to do justice via analysis to all the matters on our desk this morning. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisom. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Ndianambara. Good morning, Onitsha Donidu. And also good morning to Ndiosumo. It's also important that we know very well why we are here. And we're here by the mercy of Almighty God. We cannot do it by ourselves. And that's why we always implore the strength and the grace of Almighty God to do whatever work placed before us. And we are in our sanctuary. We are in the Lord's vineyard to do His work. And then just like we do say in Igbo language, Ozo Chago Megene Wacha, it has rained, and then it has also cleared as well.
No, it has butchered.
Yeah, Wachago. All right, so we are now looking into certain things, aftermaths, reactions, and some other things we need to do to improve our electoral system, not just in Nigeria, and also our engagement and other things happening around the world. You're welcome.
All right, then let's go to the papers and tell you what the front pages say. We have The Nation, The Vanguard, The Punch, and The Guardian. And starting with The Nation newspaper this morning, plot to take over Nassau Nikon's interest in OML 42 unravels. And of course, this story is on page 4. Foreign lenders, major banks join fight to overturn sweeping court orders. Court holds proceedings amid NJC chief judge petitions. And Senator Nwoko, actress wife Regina marital crisis gets messier. The story is on page 40, but of course we keep you updated by 12:15 to 12:25 rather to 2 o'clock on the Cherry Box. All right, my victory means elections getting better. This is the banner headline, says Soludo. The writers, Tinubu, his election or re-election, testament to visionary leadership. Governors hail deserved victory. This story is on pages 2 and 3. Of course, inside of it you'd find winners and losers. APGA councillor killed. Police Service Commission, policemen on duty did well. Opposition protests outcome. Federal government to list 1 trillion naira real estate funding on NGX on page 5. The rider here, single digit mortgage to close housing gap coming. And of course, how to attain multi-trillion naira economy. Agbakoba is speaking on page 6. And on page 5, PDP crisis throws Ekiti governorship primary won by Oluyede into storm. And there is a picture story there that has Edo State Governor Monday Pueblo. Something about a volleyball tournament in Edo State. And of course, on the sports column on page 47, World Cup playoff, Eagles Rabat camp bubbles. These are the stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
Okay, so we hope that the Eagles are going to prepare very well, because that very match they have on Thursday against Gabon is quite crucial if we are going to go to the finals of the World Cup qualifier. And then over to the Punch newspaper, we have the banner headline. It begins with a kicker: PDP crisis, 3,000 delegates set for high stakes convention. The story is on page 2 of Punch newspaper. It has a rider marking the Wiki camp straight blows as delegates gear up for convention. Crude oil revenue plunges by 43%. The story is on page 20. Okay, it's on page 33 of Punch newspaper. Drugs, Regina Nwoko in fresh bitter showdown. The story is on page 8. I don't know why these people are washing their little linens in the public. The other headline says Saludo's Anambra win sparks political storm. The story is on page 2 of Punch newspaper. Beside the nameplate, genocide, PFN Islamic Council in verbal crossfire. The story is on page 8 of Punch newspaper. Another headline says FG vows tighter security after UK flags northern states unsafe. The story is on page 9. 15 girls rescued from Ondo sex trafficking network. Check page 4 of a Punch newspaper. Then the final headline, the front page of Punch says Areboshola's backing can't save Adeleke APC chieftain. The story is on page that's page 9 of Punch newspaper.
Right from the Punch, let's go to the Guardian. I am going to skip that story on less oil. It's been recurring on some of the papers. But HIDA urges Tinubu to pause 15% fuel import tariff amid hardship. This story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Court hears motion on PDP November convention today. On page 3, IMF, Nigeria discuss reforms, new development plan on page 3. And there is one here. Saludo triumphs in Anambra as ADC observers decry vote buying on page 6. Awujale, Olaumi warns against violation of traditions, customary law on page 5. Agbakoba, how Nigeria can improve naira value, hedge volatility on page 4. Trump's comment threatens national unity, NSCIA warns, demands retraction on page 6. Anambra, Serap, Booth Party urge INEC to prosecute vote buyers on page 7. NCS records revenue surge as Port Harcourt Command earns 33 billion naira in October on page 7. And on page 4, Nigeria loses $8 billion yearly to idle seafarers, delayed CVFF disbursements. Find this one on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper.
And we go over to the last newspaper we have this very morning, which is a Vanguard. The front page stories, the banner headline says Anambra showdown, how Soludo tsunami swept all 21 local government areas. The story is on page 5, is the big story, and the plenty riders, Governor hails INEC, security agencies. Poll records best turnout in 20 years. Candidates, stakeholders, FET governors. Winners and losers. Seraph wants sponsor for vote buying probed, prosecuted. Anambra Reg dismisses claims of vote buying. Tinubu congratulates winner, says his re-election affirms visionary leadership. Then FG exceeds 2025 borrowing target by 55.6%. Expected to hit 80% by year end. The story is on page 19. This one says Anglican primate to FG, seek foreign help if you can't stop killings. The story is on page 9, and it has a rider that says Nigeria records 81% drop in terror-related deaths since 2015. That's the presidency saying so. U.S. watch list, Nigeria not in religious war, NSCIA. The story is on page 9. UK warns against travel to 6 states. The story is on page 9 of Vanguard newspaper. Autonomy, no evidence to show allocations reach local government directly. ICPC others. The story is on page 13. If there is no evidence and they are quite sure about this, then ICPC, what are they doing? Or is it just for them to talk about this and then leave Nigerians at the mercy of who knows? These are the headlines we have on the front page of Vanguard newspaper.
All right, then we're going to go into the conversation proper. Keep it locked. And of course, we're going to be starting from home The election happened on Saturday, and of course, before then, the conversation started here. You know, we built it up from voter education to conversations around the will of the people and, of course, the aspirations of the contestants, their plans for the Anambra, and decisions were made at the polls on Saturday. And of course, earlier when we were starting the conversation, Franklin, you mentioned the percentage of vote for the APGA candidates this time around in juxtaposition with what he got in 2021. And of course, we followed up reports in the field on Saturday where we're there to see things for ourselves. As much as there was little recorded violence, there was very little recorded incidents, quite widely recorded voter apathy in different quarters. For instance, in Oka, where I was reporting from, the numbers were not impressive. I got to a particular polling unit, Aroma 1, and for a polling unit that has 2,471 registered voters, to have only 127 people that actually got accredited to vote, and eventually there were a number of invalid votes because unfortunately some of them did that thing we were screaming against, putting their fingerprints in one, folding the ballot paper, and then you have the ink smeared on all the boxes. For some persons it was plain indecision. I even saw some persons who collected ballot papers. I mean, I saw ballot papers during the counting stage that had nothing voted on them, but people got accredited to vote and then eventually vote. But all of those things we have recorded, we have seen how it happened. Over 500,000 people came out to vote out of over 2 million people who are registered. And I'll start with the issue of voter apathy, Tony.
We have talked about voter apathy in Nigeria. It's something that is generous, synonymous with voting in this country. It tells you that people are still doubting the electoral process. Why do people during election period do not turn up? Two things: insecurity and low confidence or low trust in the system. If you assure them of security and possibly they believe the vote will count and the performance of elected officials.
So which of them do you think is a problem from Saturday? Because when you say assure them of security, we had only the police sending down 55,000 men to Anambra State. We had military men on patrol. I saw immigration. I saw EFCC. Literally, I saw NSCDC. Almost, I think it was only road safety I didn't see on that day, right? And so security is the least of the worries in my estimation. So, and the people, I like to think, actually do know that security is not the problem. I'll give you an instance. In even rural areas, you go to places that are perceived not totally urbanized. I use Oka for an instance, where you go to the Wubankwas, the I can't remember the names now, the around the Koka area. The turnout was even better than in really open areas like Aroma, like Ifite, and the rest of them. And so, why do you think that security could possibly be making it to the table at this point? Because security, from my estimation, was really in place, and the people still did not come out.
When you say there is security, it's not about the deployment of troops. Perception of people about insecurity is also a factor. It's not about number of people you have deployed to ensure that the system or security is guaranteed. It's not really about that. And I've always said that militarization of electoral process is not the best anywhere in the world.
So what would you rather have us do?
The point remains that there are factors, just like we have identified. One has to do with people trusting the system. Second has to do with performance of the elected officials. Third has to do with the issue of insecurity. And then the psyche of the people. Some people believe that for them to come out and vote, they are doing charity. That is at all. That's why so many of them came out with a feeling and belief that they will be giving something. How can I leave my house since morning? I did not eat anything, and I've been here on the queue from past 2 hours and ended up voting, and I'm giving nothing. See, that is the mentality of the people. They don't see voting as a civic responsibility. They see it as something they are doing to help those who are going for one thing or the other. And who implanted this in our psyche? The politicians. When people come out of vote and with a thought that I'm going to give them this and probably get their vote, and you go into the office and do nothing. So that has recalibrated from time to time, from generation to generation. So to an average voter, he thinks coming out to vote is a charity. Do you know what it means? Someone told me, do you know what it means for me to leave my house, to leave my comfort zone, to be on the sun to vote? Do you know what that means? So when a voter tells you that, it summarizes his perception, his thought about the whole thing.
But everything is wrong with that perception.
But then there are people who are such things. If you open the phone lines, many will tell you. So they don't see the idea of coming out to vote being a weapon to define their future. To say no to those they don't want, and also to say yes to those they want. To be a kind of statement that we want this, we don't want that. You know, they take their businesses serious. Remember the by-election, we didn't see the turnout as we saw in this election. If you had opened the markets, I bet you many of them will be in different markets.
Speaking about markets,
so
some markets were even operational. I remember Aligo reported from Ochanja and said some roadside traders were busy doing their business around Ochanja. I also recall that by the cattle market in Oka, business was going on like nothing was happening.
That tells you everything.
Even parts of Ekoka, parts of Amenyi market and stuff like that.
And I've told people, if we follow politics, if we come out during election the way we attend churches, we will be better off.
Do you think that if religious leaders sort of impression on their people to go voting, that it will make any difference?
And you know, most times the religious leaders, they come out and castigate the process, castigate the system, and tell people that this is not worth it. And when you tell adherents of different religions that it's not worth it, so it will water down the effort. The truth remains that we have not get it right. We are still in the process of trying to know or trying to see if we'll be there or not. The truth remains that for us to have large turnouts, 21.45%, yes, over 100% increase. If you compare it to the last election, but is that what is expected? I listened to some analysts, and some of them were saying Anambra State is a state with over 5 million, people, but that's not true. Anambra State has close to 9 million people, and then in that range, you'll find out that 2.8 million people registered for election, but 2.7 were accredited. It tells you a whole lot. There are so many people. I saw people playing football that very day, and I saw people doing one kind of thing, and majority of these people are the youths. The elderly stand up, and you wonder what the youths are doing. But it is something that we must correct. It's not by imposition, command, authority. No, we must, as a matter of fact, because if you look at those who are holding public offices, there should be opinion poll about these people, especially when they are not doing well. That is one. And secondly, I think also that the people should know, because that's what we are doing here, they should know the power of prayer. And in this case, their prayer is the ballot. Their prayer is the ballot. They should know the power invested in them to change. And another thing, just like I've always said, like yesterday we were here, I said we must minimize the human contact during elections. When you minimize the human contacts and deploy technology to fill in the gaps, trust will start coming back as far as the system is concerned. So overall, just like we said, the election was peaceful, there's no doubt, but we witnessed one ugly incident which the governor mentioned in his acceptance speech, and it's important we also highlight it, because what happened at Owerri-Zukala border with Imo State must be made known to everyone. A councillor was killed. He has voted, for what we are told, the councillor had voted on his way back. Though that area, you would say, is more like between Imo State and Anambra State. And the councillor got killed. And those who killed him ran into the state, Imo State. So, but they killed him at the border. So that's just the the only dark spot as far as issue of security is concerned. So other things we have highlighted, these are things we can improve on. But I tell you, just before going to the election, when you tell the people the truth, they will say you are biased. Before going into this election, all of us here know that the candidate of ABGA had no rival. And the election, I listened to Yaga Africa, Samson Itodo, last night, and he affirmed that the election reflected the will of the people. And then he was able to more like distinguish between integrity of the process and the credibility. He said that the election that happened yesterday, or I think on Saturday, had integrity. Integrity in the sense that people were allowed to vote, to express their thoughts using their ballots without any intimidation, without any harassment, without any chaos. For him, that's integrity, that the process and INEC officials did as expected. But just like we have always said, on the issue of credibility, what makes an election credible? The issue of vote buying. We are electorates, party agents. They were in a transactional mode. Party agents, some of them who had not come with money, we are mandated to go back by the electorate, go back and bring money. Go back. We cannot live here if you don't give us something. And at times they were asked to put their names down as a token of appreciation. Just like I said yesterday, some of them had chosen the party to vote, but they want that party to appreciate them. So for them, they are doing charity to the party. So the mentality that we are doing charity, that we should be giving something, and who implanted this? Politicians and political parties.
So you think we need to disabuse the minds of the people in terms of the entire voting ideology? They need to start seeing voting as a civic responsibility and not a privilege that they are extending to the political parties or their candidates.
For me, that is what it should be. Many of them prefer, because some of them will tell you, if you don't go to church, it's a sin, right? If you don't vote, it's also a sin.
I asked you a question earlier.
It's also a sin.
Do you think that religious leaders are doing enough to, because they are equal stakeholders in this? I mean, when you talk about a better nation, a better society, religious leaders cannot only complain when things are not going right. They can't help reposition the people. Karl Marx said religion is the opium of the masses. And if people can swallow what religious leaders say hook, line and sinker, it means that if religious leaders start to project voter education too, it would make a difference.
It will make a difference.
And so I am asking, is it a question of them not being carried along, or a question of them deciding to not just, help in that way?
I think the word being carried along is meant for lazy people. You don't wait to be carried along. You carry yourself along. Anybody who is waiting to be carried along in some responsibilities that the person knows that he has a role to play, directly or indirectly, you are still being overly sentimental. You must carry yourself along and also make a statement in the process. So you don't wait to be carried along. Because if you're waiting for somebody to carry you along, it means that the waiting may be endless. So the religious leaders, the traditional rulers, the civic organizations and the civil liberty organizations and different NGOs, they must play a role. But the major role is the system itself. If I'm telling somebody to participate in this, it's also expected that the very thing I'm telling the person to participate in is as transparent as expected. So that is why I have employed INEC, deploy more technology. They did wonderfully well, because if you look at the collation, it was done manually, there's no doubt. But before then, there was electronic transmission of results to the IREF, though law does not recognize it. There is no law in the electoral act that recognizes such thing. It's just a way of showing transparency, showing accountability, showing probity. But INEC did very well. So the National Assembly should make this issue of IREF to be part of our electoral system. It must be done, as we witnessed in Anambra State election. Just 3 hours or 4 hours after the election, you've seen almost all the results uploaded. I viewed all the results from my hometown. I viewed all the results from different places as I wanted. That is commendable on the part of INEC. Security agencies, they are also to be commended, because they did marvelous work. No intimidation, no harassment, and they showed that cordiality. And for the electorate, the voters who came out in mass, they did well as well, because we have not witnessed this turnout in the past 20 years, as some records have shown. And if you also look at this election, it is also a milestone. There are about 3 governors that have been elected before now, re-elected, by winning all the local governments in their state. The very first person to hit that record was former Governor Willie Obiano in 2017, where he won all the local governments, but he got about 56% of the total vote cast. He was re-elected with that figure. And you also look at Governor Mai Manabudi in 2003. He won all the local governments, 17 of them in his home state. You also look at Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak of Kwara State. In 2023, he also won all the 16 local governments in Kwara State. So, but if you look at the percentage of the votes they garnered, this election has put a new record. Because if you look at the one that got Soludo back, Soludo won in all the local governments, just as Willie Obiano, Mai Manabuli, and Abdurrahman Abdurazak. But this time around, he got 73% of the total vote cast, and he just lost about 7 wards. We have 326 wards. That mark, or that benchmark, is something that we have not seen in the history of this country, even from the First Republic, Second Republic, Third Republic, where you have 326 wards in a state, and then an incumbent winning all but 7. None of these 3 governors I have mentioned have ever come close to such feat. It's a new feat.
So how much is given, Tony? Right. Much is expected.
Let me add something to what Tony just said now, because if you look at the margin of win, or difference between the votes for the person that won and the person that came second, is quite massive, and at the same time, percentage of vote that went to him. Well, the thing is that on this platform, I think we made some projections, though we were not that categorical. But for anybody who follows and understands politics in Anambra State, or even beyond Anambra State, the person will easily predict that Soludo was going to win. Why am I saying this? Apart from the fact that he's sitting governor, then you talk about the fact that the power of incumbency, you talk about performance, then you talk about so many other factors. Now let's talk about the power of incumbency and see how it works. We're in a state whereby ABGA controls all the structure, and this time around, there's what ABGA has. ABGA has what I might call superstructure. How do I mean? Apart from all those political groups you do have in their grassroots, I found this very trend that crept in under this very government, whereby they try to create political structure in virtually everywhere. If you go to some government agencies, you see political structure. All the appointees of these very governments, they have their own structure of mobilization. You talk about the market unions, it's also a structure. So ABGA has this wide structure cutting across everywhere. So even before going to the polls, someone could say that ABGA had about 50,000 votes already in the bag. Then they now went and just for that vote. Now imagine whereby all the appointees of the government, they had a mandate. You must deliver your polling units. You must vote and show evidence. This will be say I voted, but where did you vote? You must show evidence, say you voted. So if you take away all the appointees, is that even legal? No, it's not a matter of you, but you have a moral body. You're part of the government, of course. You're part of the government. You're supposed to support the government that appointed you, because all of you are together in it. So it's not a matter of whether it's legal or there's nothing bad about it, of course, because you cannot be serving me, or I cannot be serving my government, and then you are going to work against me. No, that's not tenable. So in that very case, before going to the election, ABGA had a reasonable number of votes already secured by the virtue of the appointees and the structures that the party has in different areas, not just local government level, within government institutions, within the cabinet, and what have you not, then within the market union. So that one was guaranteed. They now talk about what we saw during the election, because this issue of vote buying, we can't stop talking about it. It was introduced by one person, and today is giving all of us worry. And the dimension we are going to now is the fact that it's no longer parties going to offer. But you now have voters asking that they be paid before they get to vote. That is the danger. That is the danger now. That is where we are headed. That anybody should be worried about, because it could get to a point whereby on the election day, people will turn out, people will be at the polling units moving around, but nobody will agree to vote unless money exchanges hands. That's why we need to fight this. And for us to fight this, I keep on saying this, and for us to fight this, it won't just be by virtue of what we do say. Because after every election, everybody talks about vote buying, then what happens? Yesterday, when we were on program yesterday here, one of the guests talked about how he went to cover the election. He saw some EFCC officials who came for the election too, and they came after, they came for potential vote buyers. But guess what? They also needed to be serviced. So in that very case, we were shown the picture of 3 persons who were arrested by the EFCC on account of vote buying. My question is, where are they now? Are they still being held? Were they the only ones who were involved in it? So the thing is this: we have not become serious. If we want to fight this issue of vote buying, the law is explicit about these things. So if the law is clear about these things, those who are supposed to be making an arrest, what are they doing? That's why some persons are quarreling with the police, in as much as in terms of providing security, not harassing people. We did not record that, but people believe that the police failed in doing the very job of trying to ensure that vote buying does not happen in the full glare of uniformed men, because it happened. So if we want to become serious, we want to see the police doing this very job, the NSCDC, those people who are deployed to different polling units on election day. Let's see them beginning to arrest these very people. Okay, there's one video that trended. I don't know if you saw the video. Somebody followed the woman to the cubicle. A woman went to vote, and somebody, a party agent, followed the woman to the cubicle to ensure that he would vote for his party. And people were there watching. Security men were there watching. Why didn't they arrest him? So I want to see a situation whereby we begin to see arrest and prosecution. Because by the time we begin to do this, it's going to serve as a lesson to others who might want to do it tomorrow. But once we pay lip service, we condemn it, we cry to high heavens, even those involved in it too, we all condemn it. At the end of the day, we're going to make no difference. So apart from this too, if we begin to introduce, like Tony said, if we begin to limit people's contact or human contact in the election, it's going to do a whole lot. I think we should be thinking of how to even go about electronic voting, because if we go into electronic voting, it's going to solve 2 things. This issue of vote buying, if somebody can be in the comfort of his house and vote, he's not coming in contact with any politician, so the chance of people negotiating how much he or she is going to be paid before he votes is going to be eliminated. And also the issue of low turnout, where people will think, oh, why am I going to sacrifice my time, go out there, dissipate energy, waste my time, and nothing comes out of it. If somebody can stay in the comfort of his house to vote, of course we'll begin to see more people who will get involved, and at the same time, some of us who are always disenfranchised during election will begin to have time to vote. I think I mentioned it here last time that we had about 400 and something journalists who were accredited to vote in this, or rather to cover the election, and we can comfortably say that 80% of them did not vote because they were sent on a duty outside where they registered. But if we have a chance whereby these people will be able to vote, of course we can increase the number. So we have a whole lot to do for us to solve this very challenge we have before us.
Just like you pointed out, Frank, there was a time vote buying was prevalent in the United States of America. I remember during the 19th and early 20th centuries, political machines in cities like New York, Tammany Hall, and Chicago openly engaged in buying votes or offering favors, food, and alcohol in exchange for electoral support. But today, through their institution, it is illegal, and it has become rare due to strong enforcement, voter education, and use of technology. That is important, the use of technology for transparency measures where human contacts have been greatly reduced. But if you go back to memory lane in history, the earliest documented instances of vote buying in Nigeria date back to the first general elections of the 1950s, particularly around the 1954 regional elections. At that time, political parties like the NCNC, that is National Council of Nigeria and Cameroons, and an Action Group, AG, we are competing for regional control. That rivalry between the Action Group and the NCNC, where they were competing for this regional, dominance. Candidates and party agents resorted to offering gifts, even food, drinks, and sometimes cash to rural voters to influence their choice, especially in areas where literacy was low and political awareness was limited. So in doing so, they found that since these people had no information about what was going on as a result of their rustic nature and their rustic lifestyles, they resorted to deploying foods, drinks, cash. This happened in 1954. I'm just trying to let you know how vote buying came into our political jurisprudence. And it was as a result of this fierce competition between the Action Group and then the National Council of Nigeria and Cameroon, the NCNC. And recall that NCNC had upper hand even in Lagos when they were gunning for regional House of Assembly. So remember how some of the Action Group members defected after they had voted for NCNC, and then the NCNC had major seats, but the defection cost a lot of things, and that was the history of defection again in the Nigerian politics. So if you look at it, the first vote buying happened during this period, 1954, and it has continued over time. In 1979, in 1999, we have recorded improvement. Every election comes with improvement of vote buying. So just like I said, how did the US stop their own? It was so in United States of America, but how they did stop their own was reducing human contacts, and with strict law. That law has bigger punishment, where if somebody is convicted of vote buying, the person may be convicted up to 20 years in prison, and the person will be barred from anything election. That's how they started, and they worked more on technology, making sure that situations where there will be giver and taker, these things are eliminated in the process. So they also use technology to improve transparency, and at the same time, issue of monitoring and enforcement became something of a national concern. Everybody started going out for those who would also buy vote. But right now, I wouldn't say it is completely eliminated in the United States of America, but it is rare, very rare. It is seen as somebody who is carrying Ebola.
So you believe that someday we are going to get to the point where it is totally eliminated in Nigeria?
If you do what they have just done, what did they do? Through strong legislation, especially on that. They have a separate legislation. We don't have a separate legislation on that. We would want to try to attach it to electoral law. We should have a separate legislation on vote buying and vote selling, where we will call it an act either for prohibition or prevention of vote buying or vote selling during an election, a separate standalone law to start with, not the one we have under section 21, under section 121, and some of these things we have in the electoral act. That is one. Then issue of building strong institution and enforcement, and also deploying technology. I don't believe in changing the psyche of people. America did not change their psyche. They never work on the psyche of their people. What they did was try to get over this or get rid of it through enforcement, legislation, transparency, deployment of technology. That's what they did. At no time did they contemplate changing the psyche, trying to put they never contemplated that. Okay. And today is rare.
73%, that's what the APGA candidate got. Congratulations have poured in. Other state governors have called to congratulate. The president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has also congratulated him. But you know how it is said, to whom much is expected, or to whom much is given.
Much is expected.
Much is expected.
Now, before you switch, because I think we'll also like to look at the reactions that had through the election coming from the other candidates. Take, for instance, the ADC candidate has rejected the result. LP candidate has also done so. The APC candidate said, after consulting with the stakeholders, speaking with the agent, collecting facts, he will decide his next line of action. So we can say we have heard from 3 different candidates. There are other candidates who have been speaking about the election, Many of them have talked about the vote buying, but these very three, they have come out strongly, but none of them has stated whether he's going to court or not. And guess what? This morning, I saw statements posted by two strong APC members in Anambra State. And guess what they said? They said, if you are going to challenge the election in the tribunal, you on your own. Two strong APC members. They are all members of the APC campaign council in Anambra State. They posted on in their personal capacity. So does that mean that they believe that the majority of people of Anambra State gave the vote to the governor of Anambra State for him to continue? In that very case, anybody going to court might not be able to scratch anything. That's number one. Then this issue of vote buying too. People will always tell you that why it is still thriving is because there is poverty in the land, and that politicians have weaponized poverty, and that's why it keeps happening. My question is now, this thing of, or this belief that poverty is the driver because people do not have money, so whatever they see, they fall for it. Can we question this? Is it actually true that it's poverty? Because we now see people who are not that poor also asking for the money because they believe that, oh, it's time for us to share the national cake, share the largesse. Let me take my own and go my way. Is it still poverty that is driving this vote buying, or the fact that people live in ignorance, people do not understand the consequence of their action?
Poverty is one. Two, people live in ignorance. Three, many of them do not have or understand the consequence of such action. Four, there is no punishment. Forget what we have under the electoral law. If you look at section 149 of the Electoral Act, which talks about directly or indirectly giving out money, gift, or any benefit to induce a person to vote or refrain from voting. If you look at the penalty, a person found guilty can face imprisonment for up to 2 years, and also a fine up to 5 million or both. So there is this provision for just fine, and that fine could be up to 5 million depending on the discretion of the judge, or imprisonment for up to 2 years. So you find out that vote buying does not in any way render the outcome of the election a null or non-valid. So if you are going to court on the ground of vote buying, what you're looking at for is to convict the vote seller and possibly the vote buyer. You are not going to the court to change the outcome in terms of the result that was declared. Vote buying under our laws does not affect the results. That's another thing we have to look into. It does not affect the result. It only affects the buyer and the seller, where the buyer and the seller have a term of up to 2 years imprisonment or fine 5 million, depending, up to 5 million. It mustn't be 5 million. So that is why I said, for us to kill this virus, we must have a stand-alone legislation.
So for these people who have said no, that they are not going to accept the result of this election, and they give their reasons, are they making any point, or this is just like the chorus of anybody who loses an election?
I think if you look at APC candidates, he has no right to say he will not accept the results. He was also involved in vote buying and vote selling. The candidates of APC deploy agents, just as other political parties. The candidate of Labour Party lost his polling unit, and he said why he lost his polling unit was because he could not buy votes. And I disagree with him. Do you know what it means for you to lose a polling unit? What it means that you are umunna, because his polling unit is located in his own village. You are umunna, you've not been doing something for them. I don't know, I stand to be corrected. You can lose everywhere, not in your own polling booths. So must you give your umunna money on election day for them to vote for you if you are doing work for them before now? See, I tell you, I challenge anybody. If I'm running for any election and I come down to Osumo, I will not give anybody money, and I will win my polling unit, because your relationship with them matters. How they view you, how they see you. Do they see you only during election? During the election, you remember that they do exist. After election, you forget them. Losing at a polling unit, because I listened to George Mohalo, where he said that why he lost his polling unit that has about how many people that turn out, was because he could not buy votes, and he said no to buying votes. It means that your Omona feels that you have not been doing well for them, even before now. Because if you have been doing well for them, if somebody had come there to buy their vote, they will tell the person, no, this man has been with us for a very long time. So he has to look inwards and ask himself question, what have you not been doing for your Omona before now? That is one. Then for John Wilson, who looks so, gentlemanly. He looks so gentlemanly, and then I agree, he's a gentleman. He said he will not buy votes. If it means losing anywhere, he's sure to lose. But I don't think he did not lose his polling unit. John Wilson did not lose his polling unit, and he did not buy votes. And he said it from day one, he is not going to deploy money to buy anything, and he did not lose. But George Moalu lost his own polling unit and then hinged it on being unable to buy votes. And if you look at the candidate of APC, where they deployed agents to go and buy votes, so he has no moral standing to talk about vote buying. And also, what happened at Inri Ward 2, polling unit 001, 002, 003, where the deputy candidate of the party, in fact, this time around, work in connivance allegedly with copper youth corps members. I pity those corps members that were beaten to pulp. They were beaten because they had smuggled in the result, and it is somehow very sore for a deputy candidate to be. It is even more better to be linked with vote buying and vote selling than trying to smuggle written results using corps members.
So
and
did INEC confirm this allegation? Did INEC confirm this, or this is a report that people put out there in the media?
INEC said that the results tendered for those polling units were actually wrong result, and they cancelled the result of that very polling unit 001, 002, 003, and they said that there was disruption of a process, and for you to enforce a smuggled result, meaning there would be a disruption, and corps members were used. So INEC can't come out and tell you that we saw corps members. They would tell you.
Have any arrests been made?
Of course, those two corps members have been arrested by the security agencies.
So investigations are ongoing.
Definitely. So that is just one. And then secondly, for ABGA, that also they were accused of such mercantile business, just as APC. So, but the point remains that in all of this,
were any arrests made in the case of ABGA?
3 persons were arrested. I don't know. EFCC told us they just arrested 3 persons. They didn't tell us the party these 3 persons belong. But EFCC told us and the same EFCC was also accused by their officials, where they had gone to meet the local government mayors, demanding their own settlement, their own money. So they were also accused. So you find out that the hunter at a point becomes hunted, and the hunted at a point becomes the hunter.
So who is going to correct the anomaly in the system?
I have said how the anomaly will be corrected, and I have given you history of how vote buying came into the system in 1954 regional election.
Right, we need to round up this conversation.
My point has been that for any challenge we have as a country, it's not meant for leaders alone to deal with it. Because I keep on saying, listen, anytime we mention any issue we have in this very country, those who are the followers will tell you leaders are the problem. But we always forget how we also contribute. Because if leaders are messing up, then you as a follower too, you now say because they are messing up, let's join. That means we are far from being redeemed.
That is it. And Franklin, you can also agree that more voters were the one demanding money from even these people. I visited some polling units. Do you know some people had the audacity to meet me and tell me some agents have not even fulfilled their promise? I said, where was the promise? They said that we came to vote for this party. They said we came to vote for ABGA, and we told them that we wanted to vote for ABGA, and then we told them that we are going to put our names together and hand them over to them, that we are going to vote for the party. That's the party we want, and we voted for ABGA. At the end of the day, they did not give us anything. They did not settle us. They keep telling us that they are going to bring the money. And I wanted to take their pictures because they don't even know who they were actually talking to. I wanted to take their pictures, but that tells you the mindset of everyone. I have said it here that some people who have come out to vote believe that they are doing charity. It's charitable to come out to vote. But I'm saying it is even a sin not to even come out to vote. When God has given you power, use it. Don't go and disturb God every Sunday, shouting and telling God to do this and do that. Since I was born, I have been hearing this prayer of Nigerian Onansobu every time. It is God that has given you power to change your situation. You don't want to change your situation and you're disturbing God. And God has given you opportunity to change this situation by coming out and participate in the election process. Bring in those good things you have. Don't just sit back and criticize. If you think you are good, if many people are good, they will come out and change the system. We are evil thrives because the good ones will always sit back and criticize. And tomorrow you go to church to disturb God. I will tell Nigerians to stop disturbing God.
Okay, Nigerians, stop disturbing God. Go and vote. That's what Tony has said. Tony, to round off this conversation, what are the expectations now of the governor who is going on another 4 years term?
I think the expectations are high. Of course, just like you said, to whom much is given, much is expected. Remember, we are not going to forget his manifesto with 5 pillars. We are not going to forget that in a haste. He called it People's Manifesto, and we are going to also follow it religiously. And in following that manifesto religiously, remember he talked about law and order, infrastructure, infrastructural development, and some other things he talked about in that manifesto. He has broken a record in Nigeria. He has made a history, being the only re-elected governor with 98% of the entire wards in that state won. It has never happened. And also having the highest number of total votes cast. It has never happened. So with this feat, let it not be rhetorics. Let it not just be for celebration. Let it not just be for anything. And he has to also extend olive branch. From the address I saw, he also read out. He extended olive branch to those who contested alongside with him. The project is Anambra project to develop Anambra State. Election has come and gone. And for those who are going to court, save your money. Save your money. Don't even go and give your money to the, would I call it, some lawyers that will ask you that you have a good case. At the end of the day, they're interested in that money.
So,
because
Tony, do you read meaning into the words of congratulations that came from Mr. President to the governor? Because he even described the governor in flowery words, and he personally signed that very statement.
I read a lot of meaning. When I said it earlier here, that the president is supporting Governor Soludo, and I said the signs were there during the campaign of the APC candidate. He never attended. The vice president never attended. They did so much work to bring Akpabio, and Akpabio came here at All Saints and started singing for them, "You shall not walk alone," as if he was a Liverpool fan. I know Akpabio to be an Arsenal fan. How can you come as an Arsenal fan at the field and you start singing, "You shall not walk alone"? So it was a more of a deceit for me. And then the president came here during the time he came, that was in May, right? If I can.
To commission 8th of May
and he
to
said
commission the new government
that
house.
he was going to collaborate with the governor.
He said the progressives were working
They are
together.
working together. And then the governor also made him understand that he is the leader of the progressives here. And then we also understand that is this synergy between ABGA and the APC, but not as a way that is a new thing. No. We saw ABGA having this belief that they will always work with the party at the center. That was how they adopted Goodluck Jonathan as their presidential candidate in 2011. They also adopted Goodluck Jonathan as their presidential candidate in 2015. So it's a policy that has never changed, that they would work with the party at the center and possibly have an alliance with that party. But the most important thing is overall development of the country. I listened to the national chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Barrister Slice Okenwa, yesterday, where he was talking about the whole issue, saying that he has been the arrangement of the party from 2011 and he has never changed, and that the former governor Peter Obi experienced that, former governor Willie Obiano experienced that. So if Soludo does experience it, it is no evil. That is the arrangement of the party, and they have got so much in return from that arrangement. Their idea is to make sure that Nigeria is developed and possibly Anambra is developed. So it is now obvious that when they were saying that Governor President Bola Tinubu handed the party flag to Okachukwu and said, "Go and get me Anambra State." Remember, we debated that very statement here, if you could recall. And I said, probably it could be the statement, probably it could not be the statement, but I doubt the veracity of that very statement. But that was my statement then. It is not about being biased. It's not about being somehow, optical. But the key thing is the development of Anambra State. I don't see anybody going to court what is going to challenge. But the tax everybody should also be involved in is the governor. You've been given this. You said there will be this, there will be that. He has promised a monorail, that there will be a rail network that connects Ekulobia to Oka, from Oka to Onitsha, from Onitsha back. The four major cities. It's good that he has made Ekulobia to be a city, because that was the original conception when Anambra was created in 1991, that Ekulobia, there will be four major cities. We will be looking for 5. Ihiala should be a city. Add up Ihiala to be a city. So we are going to look out for 5 major cities. I'm also taxing the governor. Find a way to make Ihiala a city. I've made Ekulobia a city by building the flyover, building the malls, the shopping malls, and we also build the parks. I've seen some of those things. We want those things again in Ihiala. Ihiala should be a city. Let's have 5 major cities. It is not so in any state. It is not so. If you go to Imo State, you have Owerri, you have Olu. Olu is not all that big city anyway. It's just Owerri. Outside Owerri, and then somehow Olu, no other place. If you go to Enugu, it's just Enugu alone. So we want situation in Anambra State where we have 5 major cities. Use rail. He has promised that before you leave, at least in the next 2 years, if I want to go to Oka, I will go and enter train. I will enter train. Chisom, I will not pay if I won't drive myself. I will simply pay 300 naira or 400 naira and see myself in Oka in less than how many minutes?
Fingers crossed.
That's what we want.
Fingers crossed.
That's the tax. Everybody should be taxing the governor. Governor, you promise us rail networks. You promise us this. We keep abreast and keep taxing him for him to know that we have not forgotten.
All right. That's where we round off the conversation on the Anambra governorship election. We keep you updated with any future developments. If there are going to be lawsuits, sure to know, you'd hear it from us here on the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. And of course, we are going to some more national matters. The the Vanguard has reported that the federal government has exceeded 2025 borrowing target by 55.6%. Now, according to this report, the federal government has borrowed 17.36 trillion naira from domestic and foreign sources in the first 10 months of this year. This represents 6.06 trillion naira. That's 55.6% in excess of the 10.9 trillion naira stipulated in the 2025 Appropriation Act on 10 months prorate basis. And the total borrowing in 2025 approved budget is 13.08 trillion naira for the entire fiscal year. And so, Tony, it's not about how much we are borrowing. Now, as much as we are borrowing way too much, and any sane Nigerian would be asking, how are we going to service all of these debts? But the bigger question is, what are we doing with all of these monies? Looking at the infrastructure, looking at the security situation in the country, looking at poverty index, are we really feeling the impact? That's the question now.
We are not feeling the impact of this excessive borrowing. There's no doubt. We are not feeling the impact. Singapore became what it is today through borrowing. Singapore, in fact, their visa is the most rated in the world, because with the Singaporean visa you can travel almost everywhere. The passport, not the visa. With the Singaporean passport, you can travel almost everywhere in the world without visa. That's to tell you how highly rated. This was a country that had problem with a fellow country that they got expelled, and they were asked to go your way. We don't want to. But it took the determination of some great patrons of those countries, the very country in question, Singapore, and they did everything. They achieved everything through borrowing. Look at the skyscrapers, look at the kind of airports, seaports, there is one airport on the sea. What has borrowing done for us? Borrowing has brought more poverty, more hardship, and then economic disintegration. I don't know if the same IMF or World Bank and some of these lenders that helped Singapore, I don't know what they're doing to Africans. I don't know if Africa is wearing a different clothes altogether. But the point I'm trying to make is, I have not seen where some of these borrowings are going. We are told that yes, the second Niger bridge came as a result of borrowing. The super or the coastal highway, the one we are told that a kilometer of that road cost about how many billion?
Isn't that the one Akpabio had? Sorry, not Akpabio. Mahi had a fight over the cost.
That's what I'm saying. A kilometer of that very project cost about 4.something billion. So you asked, what would the super highway change? And we have made mistakes when it comes to priority. What are our priorities? What is the vision of this present administration by the time he leaves office? What does this, because it's one thing every administration must benchmark. What are we going to leave behind?
Johnny, to think that we are supposed to even have more money now that we've removed fuel subsidy, we have floated FX, and we distribute money to the states, okay? Isn't there supposed to be, isn't there supposed to be more money for the government generally? Why are we now even borrowing more?
I think borrowing is not the issue. Because if you look at the works to be done in this country, there's no way you can do it with what you are earning. Like, let's talk about electricity. If we had borrowed to bring about steady electricity in almost every part of this country, nobody will be complaining. Let's assume we have borrowed even more than our gross domestic product. We have about $180 billion. And we are told that for us to have such kind of electricity, we must spend about $150 billion. Somebody will ask you, even when you know it's not sustainable, because that's what we call sustainable borrowing and unsustainable borrowing. I don't want to go into those details. But if we borrow to fix electricity, to fix a national nightmare, I want our borrowing to be used to fix what Nigerians describe as national nightmare. We have a lot of nightmares. So it's not an issue, because if the president is not borrowing to pay or to build roads, we shouldn't be borrowing to build some roads. We should be borrowing for things that will jumpstart the economy, like fixing the electricity, the rail system, where every city will be interconnected with the rail network. If I'm to move from Benin to Asaba, from Asaba to Oka, from Oka to Umaya, from Umaya, that is the kind of borrowing, not the one that are doing now, the kind of borrowing just to build super highway. What is it for? What is it for? We should be talking about real projects. That's what we'll be talking about, not the ones the former president left that have broken up and broken down. So the point remains that even the subsidies so removed, Nigerians are not feeling the impact. We thought that by the time these subsidies are removed, that the government will have more money to work with and lesser borrowing. But we've seen that the whole thing hasn't changed. It's still where we are. Borrowing to, in fact, I heard that there was this plan to build a cattle colony, build a cattle ranch. These are nonsensical. Nonsensical. I was reading an article this morning I think at around 3:45 a.m. written by my good friend Sam Omoseye. He was mocking those who were deriding the president for floating the naira and also removing subsidy, because he alleged that what is going on in Argentina, that Argentines are having it so rough this period, that their president decided not to do all those things, hoping that to get the masses on his side. But now we are told that the peso, their currency, is more like going haywire. That the American president Donald Trump was caught upon, where he gave them about $20 billion to save their peso, to save their currency. And he was saying that those who were mocking the president for floating naira, for ensuring that we clear the backlog of some other responsibilities, dollar responsibility we've had, that look at what is going on in Argentina. But I think he missed the track. He missed the track. Nigerians, we are not saying that subsidy should not be removed. What we are saying that it should not be removed the way and manner it was removed. Making a statement, it should have been phased out gradually, where it will not have a strong effect on the economy. Look at the inflation it has brought. Look at a lot of hardship he has brought, and look at the recovery package, the social intervention projects that has, come up, and these things have not been also helping whatever that was created. So it tells you a lot. Nobody was saying that the president cannot remove subsidy, that he cannot flow these things, but we are saying that it will be coordinated, it should be well planned, it should be well articulated, it should be phased, put in different phases.
Corruption free.
So I think, and the president has not also stamped out corruption. Corruption is too also running its ugly head.
All right.
So there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about. We are rounding up the conversation, so we open up the phone lines proper. We're going to start taking your calls in just about 3 to 5 minutes. But quickly, Tony, let's talk about some security matters, because the United Kingdom's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office has said people from the UK should desist from traveling to Zamfara, Borno, Yobe, Adamawa, Gombe and Katsina state because of the rising insecurity in those states. And of course, over the weekend also, some Anglican primates have spoken to the FG. They said, speaking about Most Reverend Henry Ndokoba precisely, he said the federal government should seek international support if insecurity is getting out of the grip of the federal government. You recall that when President Donald Trump spoke, we were asking where the United Kingdom stands on this issue of insecurity. I think this is the UK's way of saying Nigeria is insecure, and these are the places that have the flashlight. And then also the fact that Anglican primate Henry Ndokoba has told the federal government to invite foreign collaboration if it's out of hand.
I think the question should be, we need foreign collaboration, we need foreign support. It is hypocritical, it is total insanity that we are fighting insecurity from 2009 to this present day. If you look at by way of counting the years, that should be about
16 years.
16 years. You can't be doing this. It's an industry. You have opened, just as the way we had corruption around our subsidy. We have run subsidy for many years. Nothing has changed, and we decided to do away with subsidy, though in a manner not acceptable by Nigerians. We can also do away with insecurity. We must make a concrete statement. We need foreign support, not whether we should invite or the time whether we should or should not has gone. The time now is that that's what we need.
So how do we go about that?
It depends on the government. It depends on the government. You have allies.
I'd like to hear your thoughts quickly, Tony, because I mean, what you're trying to say now is we shouldn't wait for an invasion. What the United States is threatening. So if we need collaboration, how do you think it should be done?
Nigeria has allies. Work with their allies, and then have a good terms. Bring them in many ways, not by training, not by support, not by weapon selling. If we are truly in to eradicate insecurity, not the one we preach with our mouth and then in our hearts, it's a different thing. No. Because I've said why we have not eradicated insecurity is as a result of lacking political will, and at the same time sabotage. That's why we need foreign support, because we have seen internal sabotage where these people have infiltrated even different security agencies, so it becomes so hard to fight them because of their infiltration. That is why we need foreign support, where the security agencies will play their own part in supporting such arrangements. We must do away with sabotage and at the same time develop strong security and political will to stamp out this. We need that support. We have allies. It might not necessarily be United States of America.
What do you make of the UK's statement?
UK has been one of Nigeria's greatest allies over the time, and then he has also done his own thing. But remember, they don't do all those things for free. They are interested in our oil. Most of these countries coming to help you. Remember, they are not doing it for free. They are interested in one thing. Nobody renders you any support or any service for free. It is not free. So, but you must measure out what they are going to get in return. Most of them, what they care is about the oil and the raw materials. That is just that. And if you look at China supporting Nigeria against US, China is interested in the entire mining going on in Zamfara, going on in those areas. They are the ones dominating that area. And most times, some people have alleged that they are the one even fueling this insecurity in Zamfara, in most parts of the north, because of their illegal mining activities. Once they can get these insurgents settled, so they can go on with their illegal mining activities. So you find out they are also interested in their own interests. So we should learn to separate weed from from substance.
All right.
Not everything. Not everything called gold. All is not gold as that. Is being said. So the point remains that Nigeria should go back to drawing board. We need international support. We need foreign support. We cannot be talking about insecurity for past 16 years. It has turned out to be an industry, a business for some unscrupulous elements.
All right, then we take a break at this point to attend to some commercials. Once we come back, we open up the phone lines. Do stay.
From the commercial city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, where authentic news and entertainment meet. Udala Radio 104.7 FM, seriously authentic.
mana dịka nwafọ Naija nwoke maọbụ nwaanyị ebe ugbu a ị kwesịrị ime onye na-akpọ gị n'ekwentị. Ohere na-abịa so naanị otu ugboro, mana nke bụ ezigbo ajụjụ dị na ya bụ ị ga-adịkwa na njikere. Ekwekwala ka ohere ọzọ ganarị. Lee anya otu kọọlụ ziri ezi nwere ike ịgbanwe ndụ gị. Tinye Truecaller app n'ekwentị gị tata, mara onye na-akpọ gị, hụ na etufughị ohere ịnweta otu kọọlụ ahụ nwere ike ịgbanwe ihe niile. Truecaller, za ezigbo okwu.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Opa kitchen they don't sell. Wendy's bread, Mama Papa they like Wendy's bread, kitchen they don't do. Wendy's bread, even children they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, get the better tasty we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your kitchen.
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, 2nd Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Official Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tank Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread. Wendy's bread.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM, seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
0803-221-69730, 0803-827-6694. Put a call across. Let's hear what you've got to say. 2 minutes, go straight to the point, and please be as objective as possible. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Olisa Mbeki.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Franklin and Chisom. My name is Dr. from Udala State.
Go ahead, please.
What I want to say here is very simple. I followed that election, and what I discovered is that election is all about highest bidder. Because you cannot tell me that Apuga is popular, Apuga is doing well, but they are sharing money across board to the extent that Mazi P2B lost his polling unit to APC. So you want that P2B is not popular for him to lose his polling unit in Agro. So this election, as far as I'm concerned, it's not the way democracy is supposed to be. Yes? Thank you.
All right, then. A question of popularity here. Quite an interesting perspective. Good morning. Hello there. You should try to reconnect them. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Ebuka Franklin and Chisom.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Chisom and Franklin.
Good morning.
Michael the Great on the line, calling from the commercial city of Onitsha this beautiful morning.
Go ahead, please.
To be honest and sincere with you, I followed the election last scale, and this is not a new thing to me. I've been seeing different types of election, but just like the last caller, the election is just a leader. Because I can see it with my eyes, I can testify, I have the video, I have the coverage, the pictures, it's all in my phone too. Abuga shared money, APC shared money, Labour Party, PDP, all of them shared money, but
the highest data. That's not election, which also we captured everything from A to toe. So nobody will tell me now that this election we did not have vote pattern, vote bias. It's a typical lie, and I do not believe that because I saw that all the nick and crannies within the facility that I worked in. So with this, you can tell me now that with this thing that is happening now, tomorrow we can see progress. We are talking about democracy. Africa came to win, and they brought out money, large money. They buy votes with their money. And the fact you go to the channel, people bought the vote with 10,000, Oboko, pay 20,000. Here in Odapo, some people are paying 5,000 just to have your one vote, one particular vote. This is not election.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, good morning.
And good morning to you, Frank.
Yes, good morning.
My Honorable Speaker, Olisa Mbeki. The voice of Mario Sugar, calling from Monica.
Go ahead.
Well, whether anybody likes it or not, Anambra has decided. So, well, congratulations to the Governor Chukuma Soludo. Anybody who says that there is no election, you are talking on your own. Because almost the three major political parties that I know, they share the money. You understand? So you cannot be sharing money and others will be looking at you. That is simple thing there. So the person that played their game well won the election. And the one thing that I noticed in this election, there is to where I voted, there was an apathy. But after everything, it seems that Anambra grew up in their total vote casted. To me, there is an improvement. You understand? And again, this is a peaceful election that I've witnessed in Anambra State so far. So once again, congratulations to the governor, and again to the INEC. And I want them, this election conducted, everything was shown. As in, there is no glitches the way they used to tell us. Please, they should maintain this in 2027. I don't want, at the time, some people will see their results. And
you should be rounding off now.
Some people glitches. So that's what I don't want to hear. Thank you very much, my speaker, this morning. And thank you, Anam Bakti. And congratulations to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. Let's hear you. 0803 827 6694 0803 221 6973. We are live on Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7. Good morning.
Good morning, the parliamentarian.
Good morning.
Yeah. This is Obike from Obosi.
Go ahead, please.
I proceed. And something I want to say here is what Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki has said. 90% truth of that. See, and from number one of somebody, any party has gone for this governorship election in Anambra State, from party one down to the end, all of them have their chance here and there. All of them take vote. All of them. None of them can stand the presence of God and deny this. All of them, no matter who that party is, they buy vote, all of them with money, which everybody sees. I was listening to Dr. Mbeki with His Excellency P2B on Saturday when P2B analyzed what he saw there, how they are buying vote. So he can't deny this. It's a pure truth. And there's about 7 constitutions that Tony said that if that thing can happen, we have strict law. That when we are in here, they watch you, they get you as an agent, or anybody that buys vote, they pick you up. That is not happening. I noticed that the politics of Nigeria is the more you look, less you see. I tell you. And another thing is, I beg, I'm pleading to Mr. President, I beg, stop borrowing this money. We don't know where this money is going from. We don't know what we are doing with this money. Stop borrowing us. The borrowing money, we are paying it through tax or this and that in this country. People are thinking we are still borrowing money, putting it for where I don't understand. I raise my case. I just bless all of you.
All right then, Tony, would you want to respond to some of the things he said?
I think we have almost said everything. We have almost said everything. And then for those who think otherwise, just like one of the callers say that this person is doing it, this person is doing it. I don't think it has to do with highest bidder. If the candidates, assuming that there was no vote buying, nobody shared money, Abga will still win. Just like Franklin explained. You start winning power of incumbency, performance, what the governor has done, and the kind of structure they have where they control almost everything. Remove money sharing. Soludo would have won the same 21 local governments. Remove money, nobody will share money, he will still win.
Okay.
So let's not, forget, other factors outside this issue of money sharing.
Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, my speaker, Olisa Mbeki.
You're welcome.
Good morning, my lovely sister. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Fonda Sheikh Weme. Right now, presenting in Delta State. Can I go, Mr. Olisa Mbeki?
Go ahead.
I want to tell you about the mass election, about the BNC. Asia is like Lilo, Osmo, and Busuzo. I thank God for everything. Because our last 3 years, the last 4 years, nobody will go to Goa and do anything about vote. But now, I thank God the people of Osmo, all of them will come back and vote. And somebody like I want to thank you because you are one of us checking down. And someone, and the Igwe, of Osmo, and some of the Osmo, and the answer, all of them come out and vote. And important. Let God speak with glory. That's all with this one. God bless you, Olisa Mbeki.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your contribution. 08032216973. Good morning.
Good morning, Chisom.
Good morning.
Dr. Olisa Mbeki, very good morning to you.
You're welcome.
And the Franklin, Chidi Chukuma joining you from home. Yes, for the election and the outcome of that election, I am not surprised. We predicted that, and that is exactly what will happen. The Anambra State governor, the incumbent, has done a lot in Anambra State, and they have a very good plan, and is so committed to it. So the outcome of the election, it reflects the wishes of the people. The people have decided. Anybody that is saying anything in contrary, that person is just trying to say another thing or economic with the truth. Buying of election cannot make anybody to win or to lose. I think the reason why some of the opposition got something at all is because of buying of that election. And you remember what somebody said, that election buying or this and that, election buying of election or vote buying plus vote buying is equal to free and credible election. Almost all the parties has done that, and we have seen what will happen. It's not to the issue of even if Apuga, just as Tony Olisa Mbeki has said, that did not give anything, they will still win that election. You see the margin there. What are you saying? And I want the losers to be gallant losers. Let them accept the whole result with equanimity of heart. And also for the government of the Anambra State, the governor, the winner, to be magnanimous in victory. Let him carry everybody along. I don't want to see the situation where somebody will be winner take all or trying to victimize everybody because he did not support me or something of that nature. That one is uncivilized behavior. And I don't want such a thing to happen in Anambra State. So I thank him for the victory and also for the independent. I think there is improvement this time. We have to accept that. And the people of Anambra State, they have demonstrated once again that election violence is not in our character at all. They have demonstrated that. And I want to congratulate everybody in Anambra State for this peaceful conduct of the election. Thank you. And you, the Udala radio station, you did a very wonderful coverage, and I must commend you for that. Thank you very much.
Have a good day, Chidi Chukuma. Thank you for the commendation. Good morning. Hello there. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, my sister. Good morning, Dr. Tony.
Good morning. You're welcome.
good morning, Franklin.
Yes, good morning.
I am again in the Ebuka Forest now. I'm calling from Onitsha.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, is to commend you, to commend the Udala radio station for the coverage. I was somewhere that day reporting back to you people as your correspondents were scattered all over Anambra State. I met myself one of you that day. So what I'm saying is, the Anambra people have spoken. I'm again indeed, as I said. So Anambra people have spoken. But there was one thing I want to cite where Dr. Tony has just mentioned, talking of the Electoral Act and the punishment that follows there. When I overheard him saying that, my mind was telling me that it is based on the buyer, vote buyer, and the vote seller. But if I'm to put in something, what I'm suggesting is that very punishment should be directed to the party in question. If such a thing you look into for subsequent elections, the punishment there should go to the parties that are for which is something to be taken strictly as something that is serious. That's my own suggestion there. Because all of them now were found wanting on the something according to the reports. Where I voted, I didn't declare such. I just went there and voted and left. I didn't know about vote buying or what vote selling. But having reported is something because I was on the radio that day, hearing where people are saying that they will not vote until they were given money. So that is when Tony later left to go inside the field. So what I'm saying, the punishment should go to the party in question because it's the parties that are being counted, it's parties that are being directed. And any person that will come in to contest for anything, it is not an individual, but the party. So they should channel something to the party. Our lawmakers will make law on it if they want something to be corrected. So I'm thanking the good people of Anambra, wishing our governor many more and fruitful works on the forthcoming 4 years. Thank you very much and God bless you.
Thank you for your contribution. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, my name is Josh, calling from Asaba.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, you see, for me, there is nothing like history achieved or made here. Because what happened that on Saturday in that number election is a total food buying. You see, let us understand something. We are now in a big mess in Nigeria. Because if we are having this kind of election where people are sharing money with this manner, there's a particular agent, a African agent that I saw in social media. That only if you watch the carton, over more than a million naira in the carton there. Can you tell me that those opponents, Ukashuku and those other people, that can have that kind of money to buy votes? You will go bankrupt at the end of the day. We are talking about state money and individual money. It can never work. So this is a sign that we are in a big mess in this country, that in 2027, I think that we are going to see water than this. But then there may be buying vote 50,000 naira, 100,000 naira. Because all this money that they are throwing, where are the money? What is it to the money to do? So then, because the system of the day now is vote buying. There's no more democracy. And I will call on this present INEC chairman to be very careful. Because all this is eye-opener. More election is coming up. It's coming up before we have the thought to yourself. They're so credible in this kind of election that we can be seeing all these kind of things that's going on in our country. Tomorrow you come out and tell me that we have democracy. The democracy my food. Good morning.
Good morning. Let's head over to Facebook now. Our handle is Udala Radio 104.
That page to be able to finish your comment. You wrote something about. Okay, yes, we're back to it. So let's finish the message first. So he says, it was reported that INEC had changed their rules. Oh my goodness, again. Okay, maybe let's respond to the first one. He's asking if the people those who decide to go to court to challenge the outcome of the election based on reports of vote buying. Well, if you're going to tribunal to challenge the election or the outcome, there are three grounds upon which you can challenge. And the very first one is that the person whose election is questioned was at the time of the election not qualified to contest the election. The second one is that the election was invalid by reason of corrupt practices or non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. And the third one is that the respondent was not duly elected by the majority of the lawful votes cast at the election. So these are the three grounds upon which you can challenge the outcome of any election at the tribunal. Then the issue of INEC saying that people who have lost their voter card, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think that happened. And even before the law that has not been amended, what the law recognizes is that for any voter to vote, you must come with your PVC, and with that you are going to be accredited, and then you vote. INEC suggested that it would be nice that in the coming elections, with even your temporary slip, you can use that to vote. That's what INEC suggested. But for now, we're working with what the law has said. Then Taiwan Boniface HGK says, okay, he's watching from Mwawolo. Mazi Nwore Chikwadoro Osinachi says, for the 2025 Anambra Gubernatorial election, I don't know why we're having this network issue. We try to read this very message, and then next thing, network keeps fluctuating. So he says, for the 2025 Anambra decides, I will only advise LP, APC, and ADC and other parties that they should save their money by not going to the tribunal, because it will not yield any other different thing. He commented from FM Onitsha. Then let's see other messages we have here. This one is from Onye Kachukupo. He says he's watching from Onitsha. Okay. Ebunike Bonaventure says, this campaign and election season in Anambra State points to one thing: everyone has a price. Until one occupies an authoritative office, rhetoric and lecture about change should not be taken seriously. The YPP chairman talked about governors stepping down before election. This is a good time for Nigeria to look into it. Leaving our common patrimony for one individual to misuse for his election, like it happened in Anambra Saturday, should come to an end. Hunger is not the reason for vote buying. It's a sign of people unaware and lost. A people with no value. According to George Orwell in his 1984, until they become conscious, they will rebel. And until after they have rebelled, they cannot be conscious. Evil thrives not because the good people keep silent. No, evil thrives in Nigeria because the respected will be... Okay, the respected will because of appointment twist realities.
All right.
And,
that's so much you can take. Thank you for your calls and your contribution. Attorney, your final words.
I think we have said it all. And then my friend that said that the person that was seen with carton of money, I think that was actually a more like a doctored picture, but that's by the way. So most times everything on social media is not as it appears. And just like Franklin mentioned, the grounds upon which you can challenge the election, also want to also add that where a candidate was validly nominated but was unlawfully excluded from the election, it can also be one of the grounds. Add to the ones he has mentioned, and these things are captured under section 134, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended. So if you are going to call based on issue of vote buying, and then if we want to talk about corrupt practices, let me just say one thing in few seconds. It must be seen to be substantially affect the result. Let's assume there was corrupt practice in 2 local governments, and where the candidate won other local governments, and that corrupt practices issue of substantial impact would also be measured. If the impact is not substantially in a way that it affects the general outcome, it will not go anywhere. So right, it's important we know this.
Thank you, Tony Mbeki, for your analysis today. Franklin?
For me, I've learned to do my part, even when others choose to do the otherwise. I'll do my part as a Nigerian, then hoping that one day, if all of us are going to do our part, then it can become better, because now, but someone I don't know what it's going to become. This issue of hunger. Ndi Igbo onwe inu ha na-atụ asị na Igbo na-ebu ọnụ jụ nni. Onkwanye say that na adịghị aba unu na afro gbamgbam. What does that mean? These things are deep philosophies that we live on. So I believe that if we understand who we are and begin to walk the talk, of course, we can make the difference.
Absolutely. Thank you, Franklin, for being a part of today's show. And like I would always say, do your bit to, as a Nigerian, of course, to get the Nigeria that we desire. Up next on the station is